Did you notice that at the end of every episode, it says, like, the starring, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex?
Yes.
That's how she's billed.
Yes.
When the credits roll at the end, you know, stand alone. Nobody else is on the page. But Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Because they became Sussex when the Queen died and Harry's dad became king. And that's when Lilibet and Archie became Princess and Prince. And I guess as a result, their last name is now no longer Mountbatten Windsor. It's Meghan Sussex and Harry Sussex. I have no idea. And no, fucking Meghan, no one knew that. Like, why are you correcting? You know it's Sussex. No, I don't know. Who knows that? Literally nobody knows that.
This is the thing that I love too, because, you know, the thing about manners when you're a kid and they're teaching you manners, the line is always like, they are for you to go out into the world, but they're really also for other people. It's so you learn how to make other people feel welcome and comfortable and never ashamed or humiliated or hurt. Like, that was a dagger. That's a guest in her fake house.
She was mad.
On her fucking fake show, you know, who dared to call her Meghan Markle, the name we all regrettably know her by.
Right.
And now it's Dutch. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you saw this. Probably not. But she was on Drew Barrymore yesterday.
Oh, yes, we saw.
You watched?
Yeah, I saw the clips.
I saw a little bit. I couldn't gut it out. Again, I could not gut it out. But there's this moment where Drew, they're cooking. They're behind a thing, and Meghan's rolling some garbage with her hands. And Drew proudly brings out this blown up black and white photo of herself at like age 7. It's very sweet. It's E.T., Steven Spielberg, and George Lucas.
Cutest Drew there was.
She's got this little this stuffed animal. I don't know if it was E.T. or not. And she's presenting it to Diana, a very young Princess Diana.
Oh.
And she's showing this, like, this was such a meaningful moment for me. Of course it was. And Meghan, instead of going, what a life you've had. Like, tell me what that moment was like for you. What was Diana like? You know, she goes, oh, how sweet. I'll have to tell H about it.
Oh, God.
So already she's like levitating herself above this conversation. It's not Harry, it's H. It's my H.
Yep.
Like, I'll tell him that. We're separate over here. And by the way, presumably, isn't your husband watching this show and cheering you on?
Yeah, right.
Your big launch?
Right.
Like, you're
He's
going
not
to
doing
have
anything
to
else.
relay this to him?
Right.
Is he, I don't know, is he playing Minecraft?
She's constantly on this show with my husband. You know, it drives me nuts. My husband, my husband.
All right, folks. This might be the most cringeworthy Meghan Markle project yet. Meghan's new Netflix show with love, Megyn is being mocked left and right, and honestly, it's completely deserved. Megyn Kelly and Maureen Callahan are tearing this thing apart. From Meghan's weird handwriting obsession to her fishing for compliments and her total lack of self-awareness. And the worst part? This entire show feels like one big fake PR stunt. Let's break it all down. So apparently Meghan has this thing about handwriting. She makes a huge deal about how personal and meaningful it is. As if writing in cursive makes her some kind of lifestyle guru. I mean, who even cares? Megyn Kelly and Maureen Callahan absolutely rip into this nonsense, pointing out how Meghan acts like writing something by hand is some lost art. But here's the problem. It's so obviously performative. This isn't about bringing back personal touches. It's about Meghan trying to seem sophisticated and special.
Honestly, like, I almost never refer to Doug like that. I don't know. It's like, well, my husband, it's like Doug, but she thinks like, it's not cool to say Harry because it looks like she's going to be showing off. That's how a normal wife sounds.
Right.
A normal partner would say, hey, Harry thinks this. Harry,
Right.
No one would find that ostentatious.
No.
H sounds ostentatious. And that's the other thing I noticed. If you look at the first couple of episodes, every comment she makes is about herself. She's got her friend, Uncle Daniel's there. And then there's the Argentinian woman. And then there's a chef she brings in and Mindy Kaling. So there are no questions or comments about them, except there's one in episode 1 and there's one in episode 2. And if you go back and look at them, they're voiced over.
Really?
She clearly was told after the fact, you know, it might be nice if we kind of had you track like a question to Daniel about himself to set up that comment. he made. And it's all voiceover. Anything she asks of the guest was laid in after the fact. You can see the break. It's like someone had to coach her on how to be a normal person who's an actual friend who has interest in something other than themselves.
She doesn't. She's not interested. She's interested insofar as you can help her realize whatever thing she's trying to manifest in any given moment. Basically, I love the premise of this show, which is I'm going to show you how to make a happy, warm, loving home after I have successfully severed my husband's ties from his entire family, after I have successfully severed every single tie save my mother from my own family of origin. Who better? Who better to teach one how to create a loving, warm home? I loved the thing with Mindy where they're, oh my God, she goes, we are planning a children's party.
Yeah.
Children are not around.
No
He's
children.
got 3. She's got 2. There are presumably other children in Montecito. No children are around, because they're unpredictable and messy, I guess, right?
It's annoying to her.
And she says to Mindy, I don't know, again, great friends. I don't know if you go all out for your children's birthday parties or not. Mindy goes, the woman I hire does. Okay.
Right.
Very relatable.
Right.
Very relatable. And then there's something where, what was the other thing with Mindy that was just like so wild? I couldn't believe it. But it's a similar thing.
There was the balloon arch.
Balloon. Oh, and then they'd have a wardrobe change into their sundresses.
Because that's how we all do when we get together. We have several outfits for our time together.
Exactly. For like different times of day with different settings and different food stuffs, I suppose, that we're having. They dress in these sundresses and they go out to Meghan's little garden shack.
Yes, like her greenhouse where, she just sits. All I could think was that must be actually so buggy in real life.
Oh, 100%.
But okay, so they go out there, yes. Because we all have several settings in our enormous, football field size garden where like we can sit and have tea with our friends. It's all perfectly curated again and absolutely visually stunning. And the other thing about it is there's so much to get to. We're never going to get to anything else. You have such inanity happening in the conversation. Like these are not clever people. This is not like having tea with Maureen Callahan.
Or Megyn Kelly.
No, truly. And so everything is heavily produced with soundtrack, the light jazz, like the festive jazz playing. And so like they don't have to talk, which I'm sure the producers were like, more track.
It's so funny you say that. I could only think of how much money Netflix spent on licensing this music. There's so much freaking Motown in this thing.
Yes.
It's like, oh, come and get your love. It's like the final, like really? It's like, It's like when you watch, one of the things that always irked me the most about The Devil Wears Prada was that the music cues were so literal. They're always telling you what to think. Like the moment where Andy's walking down the street in Manhattan at night, debating whether she can throw Emily under the bus to go to Paris. It's like the song that's playing is I Can't Sleep.
And let's be real. Does anyone actually believe Meghan sits down and handwrites notes for everyone? Because I don't. This feels like another one of her curated personality traits that she trots out whenever she needs to seem relatable. And this is what makes Meghan so frustrating. Everything she does feels calculated. It's not about authenticity. It's about crafting a perfect, polished version of herself. And at this point, people are seeing right through it.
It's
never noticed that.
If you watch it again, you'll never see it the same way. And I felt the same way about this, where the music was doing all the heavy lifting.
Who sings sugar, sugar.
Oh yeah, Lemon Spoonful or something.
And she was like, cue the lemon head, whoever it was. She's like, cue the platters. I can't remember, forgive me. But then in comes the music while she's sifting the sugar. And that, your point about Mindy being like, no, but the person I hire does. Now, okay. I do not hire anybody to do my kids' birthdays, and I have very few domestic bones in my body. The most I will hire is somebody to blow up the, like a bouncy castle or whatever.
Which is a professional thing. You need someone to do that.
I don't know how to do that. Yeah. And Doug's not handy. Handsy, but not handy. Anyway, so you made this point in one of your articles on the Daily Mail, and I was like, that's exactly it. That's the moment you know who this show is for. Because I was watching the whole thing like, who is this for? Who is this appealing? And you said it's for the 1%. The 1% who is like, yes, my person does all of this. Or I was talking about this with my hairstylist, Sarah, and a friend of hers who came over while I was watching some of this. And they were both saying, I'm like, maybe the women in this town like will produce a birthday party like that, or will make a meal like that. But I don't think so, because the women I know in this town are actually active moms. They are bringing their kids to school. They are making their own dinner. They don't have 8 hours to freaking prepare that meal.
Right.
They've got to do the household stuff. They've got to go to the grocery store. So who's it for? And one of the gals was saying it's for staff of women like that in like the next level communities where I guess everybody has a cook who can sit around all day watching Meghan Markle and her fancy chef show them how to parboil chicken and then brine chicken and then work for 8 hours to make little chicken wings, which most of us making fried chicken would just stick in some Crisco and fry.
Right. Roll in some breadcrumbs and you're done.
Right.
That's if you're not buying them pre-made, because that's even easier. The thing about that show too is, okay, I think it was episode 2 again, or no, it was episode 1. It was with Daniel. May he rest. Who, she's making some sort of Italian dish. I'm sure the Italian in you would find this very...
I pass no judgment on cooking.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Fair enough. But, you know, it's like she's got this Le Creuset white pot, right? Which, by the way, Mindy made the rookie error of calling it Le Creuset. Right. It's like, is it foyer or foyer? You'll be tossed out if you know. So, and Meghan, of course, had to correct her, which is another thing you don't do. You don't correct your guest's pronunciation of something.
Either way, that would be a nice thing. Like, whatever, who cares?
Right. But no, and Mindy was like, oh, well, some of us have been to Europe. Like, she got a couple of digs in.
Yeah.
So it's this white Le Creuset, and there is not a splatter of anything on anything. Like, everything is immaculate.
And she's in the all-white outfit.
She's in the all-white, and she's not really wearing an apron, and there is nothing is spilled. Nothing is mistakenly put anywhere, and it just goes to the absolute utter artifice of this woman. I think, you know, the last time we talked about her, I said, I do think there's something very dark about her. And I think that this reaction, I mean, we're laughing about it because a lot of it is funny, but the reaction that a lot of us are having, which is a complete and utter recoil, is I do think this sort of built-in evolutionary response to somebody who does not seem quite right. Like, I look at her and I think to myself, only my opinion, this is a dangerous person. I don't like her.
Now this is where things get truly next level ridiculous. At the end of every episode of With Love, Meghan, she is the only person listed in the credits. And not just as Meghan Markle. Oh no. She makes sure it says Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Seriously. Who does this? This is Meghan's own show. She could have listed herself however she wanted. But no, she had to put Duchess front and center. And here's the kicker. She and Harry left the royal family because they wanted to be normal people. But now, she's clinging to that title harder than ever. Megyn Kelly absolutely destroys her for this, saying it's pure hypocrisy. You don't get to lecture the world about escaping royal life, and then insist that your title be front and center in a Netflix show. Pick a lane, Meghan. And here's what's even funnier. No one refers to her as Duchess in real life. Even the media has started dropping the formalities. But Meghan? She's still clinging to this fantasy where she's a modern-day princess. It's honestly embarrassing.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
Everybody who works for her quits. Everybody says she's a bully. She's very nasty. Not only is she incredibly controlling, but she's a bitch about it to everybody who works for her. When things inevitably start spiraling downward, she blames everyone but herself. Okay, wait, I wanted to rewind because there's so many points. She's big into these crudité boards, veggie, and or fruit. And this was one of the most, every mother out there will understand. She wants us to put together a fruit crudité board for our children in the morning. Now, look, Maureen.
I can't.
Look at this.
I can't.
It is huge. It starts with strawberries, and then it has raspberries, and then it has apricots, and then it has mandarin oranges, and then it has pineapples, and then it has blueberries, and then you finish it up with dollops of yogurt. Now, I'd love to have a running clock and how long it would take me to go, let's do something fancy, Whole Foods, right? Where like you get the true organic, to go and shop for 8 fruits, get all the fruits, get them home, wash them, let them dry out. cut them all up, cutting like teeny tiny apricot pieces up, not to mention pineapples, which is a pain in the ass. Oh, and then bananas too. I forgot she added those as well. And then laying them out. And she's like, if you don't have time to do this big thing, you can just do it like a single plate style. That alone, with all I just said, with cutting and buying and cleaning and chopping, would be probably an hour. My morning is like, here is a piece of toast. I am Martha Stewart. You're welcome. When my guest comes, I had a guest come over last night because they came to see Yardley at the play. And I was my own Martha. I gave them a glass of water as they went to bed. You're welcome. I'm like hostess with a mostess. Who the hell is putting corn on the cob in the microwave to pop their own popcorn and making the bows and then doing the fruit platter extravaganza for their children? And she says, you know, because I'm a busy mom and this is how mornings are as I get the kids off to school. You're making fruit parfait crudité boards? Like,
oh my
boom.
God. She is so full of shit. That platter, by the way, is like half the size of your desk. It's like a football field for a child. It's enormous. And, you know, sticky little kids do not keep things orderly. As a matter of course, they do not. This was my other favorite thing. Speaking of, how much free time does she have? Because she has the kind of free time that would make me enter intensive therapy.
I didn't know where that was going.
She talks about, she's sitting down at a desk and she's making out her menu for the big party that she's going to have. It all feels very Real Housewives. Like the final episode.
Stand by. Actually, we have this, I think. They're saying we have this. So is this at 6, you guys?
And now let's talk about one of the most awkward moments in the entire show. Drew Barrymore, who, by the way, is one of the nicest people in Hollywood, tries to share a deeply personal story about her childhood and Princess Diana. And how does Meghan respond? By making it all about her. Drew shows Meghan a childhood photo of herself meeting Princess Diana. A really touching moment for her. And instead of engaging in that conversation, instead of saying, "Wow, that must have been incredible for you," Meghan just shrugs and says, "Oh, how sweet. I'll have to tell H about it." Excuse me. That's the response. Not, "Wow, what was that like?" Not, "Diana was such an icon, tell me more." Just, "I'll have to tell Harry," as if she's somehow above this moment. Megyn Kelly can't believe it, and honestly neither can I. This is classic Meghan behavior. She doesn't listen. She doesn't engage. She just waits for her turn to talk. Or more accurately, her turn to make it about herself.
Oh, good God. Keep going.
She got an A- in penmanship. She's clearly not over it. We're not doing straight A's all the way. It's an epic fail. She's handlining in soft pencil lines in her notebook instead of buying a notebook. And you can buy a very expensive notebook. Go buy a Smithson, spend $400 on that line notebook. But no, she's got to line it herself. Again, what kind of time do you have?
Line.
Then she's doing that infuriating calligraphy.
I know.
What is she, 12?
I know.
You know, I took a calligraphy class when I was 12. It was a way to kill some time. I didn't think it was going to be a life skill I would take into middle age. And then she's writing, she's saying, this is a no fuss. She literally says, Megyn, this is a no fuss menu.
Oh,
It's
right.
within the reach of anybody. As she writes, like, whole wheat toast with estate honey. Estate honey. Honey from her goddamn estate.
She's obsessed with her honey.
But she's obsessed that she's growing it on an estate in a manner that we can't see because we're just the great unwashed who are tuning in to supposedly, you know, just roil ourselves in envy and feeling like failures because we don't have mini scissors.
That's the goal.
To deploy with our huge freaking basket in our backyard garden that looks like Central fucking Park.
You've never seen anything so beautiful and enormous. No, I laugh because then, of course, she's got the French pressed coffee, you know, like the perfect everything.
Mm-hmm.
Literally this morning when our guests were here, I confess I'm not even good at making coffee. I'm seriously bad in the kitchen. People know this about me. And normally, now Doug and I have a coffee maker in our bedroom now.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we start our day. But we do have one in the kitchen, and now we had a guest, so I had to make the coffee down in the kitchen. And it's kind of a highfalutin coffee machine. I don't totally understand it, to be honest. I'll take a picture and I'll post it. Well, let's just say it didn't go well. I don't know how I screwed up making coffee, Maureen, but next thing I knew, it sounded like it was brewing. Next thing I knew, it started to bubble out of like the the part where you put the grinds in, like it started to bubble out of the top, and I was like, whoa.
Uh-oh.
So I pulled it, and like hot coffee went all over
my
with
God,
the grounds,
Megyn.
all over
Oh my God.
the counter and the floor. And like so for some reason it didn't drip. It didn't drip into the carafe. But like this is me. I'm like looking at her in her white, with her French press and her perfectly made donuts and her fruit crudité, whatever. And there I am, like I can't even make a damn coffee. Now I realize most women are better than I am. And by the way, speaking of how I am, my team has apparently put together a little highlight reel of how. And I know I'm not alone. I am not the only woman who is this way. But just so you know, full disclosure, this is how I am. There was so many epic fails. There was one I tried to like make a stuffed turkey.
Yeah.
And I had to take the stuff out of the turkey. Is that a video? Do you guys have a video of that? All right, hang on. It's coming.
And here's the weirdest part. Why does she always call him H in public? So staged. It's so forced. No normal person talks like that. And at this point, it's just another example of how Meghan has created this weird fantasy version of herself that doesn't actually exist. And let's be honest, the public reaction to this show has been brutal. People are calling it cringe, fake, out of touch, and completely unnecessary. And honestly, they're right. Megyn Kelly and Maureen Callahan say it best. This isn't a lifestyle show. It's a vanity project. Meghan isn't actually offering useful advice. She's just using this platform to remind people that she's important. But the problem? No one cares anymore. And just look at the numbers. Netflix is already regretting this deal. The show isn't making waves, people are mocking it online, and even Meghan's biggest supporters are struggling to defend it. And here's what's really interesting. The more Meghan tries to control her public image, the more people turn against her. She could have made this show about actual helpful content, but instead, she made it about her. And people have had enough. So let's break it down. Meghan Markle is obsessed with her handwriting, demands to be called Duchess of Sussex in the credits, completely ignores Drew Barrymore's heartfelt story, and creates a Netflix show that's basically just one giant ego trip. No. The public is seeing right through her.
I would love to see you add like a little cooking something to your programming and like put it up against Meghan Markle.
No, you and I are going to recreate the Meghan Markle extravaganza. It's happening. And rule number 1, you will hear us actually ask a question of the other person that is about the other person, that isn't all fishing for a compliment about one's self.
Correct.
We have a little SOT montage of that. Here's SOT 2. Look what I did for you. I got to set early. I made you this. This is exactly how I did it. I spared no expense. And did I mention my flour sprinkles, which are all over every episode, as if any of us has the ability to make a fucking flour sprinkle jar? What is that? That's merchandise hawking. She wants us to go to her website and buy her stupid flour sprinkles, which is not a thing.
Megyn Kelly and Maureen Callahan say it best. This is not a woman who understands how real people live. This is someone so caught up in her own PR fantasy that she doesn't even realize how ridiculous she looks. And here's the big question. How much longer can Meghan keep this up? Because right now her Netflix deal, her Hollywood credibility, and even her fan base are slipping away fast. So what do you think? Is this Meghan's most embarrassing moment yet? Should Netflix cancel with Love Meghan before it gets any worse? And why does she always make everything about herself? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.